Broads Media.
It's crazy because I recorded a Sixers Miami Heat podcast at 6 o'clock. It's 10:17 the moment I hit record. The difference in excitement is night and day. 4 hours and 17 minutes later, and I'm depressed as hell. Was it a long shot? Yeah, it was. It was. But the way that second period went down, the surge, the team was buzzing, good cycles, good shots on net, good rushes in a game where they were coming at a premium. It just looked like they had that wave in the second period where they were actually going to do this. And the Habs were up a goal, then it was tied, then they're up a goal, then a brutal icing call happens, 3 seconds left, they tie the game. You thought you had a chance, 1-1 with about half the third period to go. You got to find a way to squeeze one through. Montreal's up 1 goal, and it just sucks. It just sucks. This team deserved to see a playoff series after hell they busted their ass all season long. But those 8 games came at a cost. And obviously, it's very cliche, but for these young ones, and even for the Sean Couturiers of the world, you got your first season under your belt of understanding the captaincy role. So that has to improve as well. Just in general, every detail of the team needs to get better. John Tortorella has to get better. It's just what it is. You have to be better because this wasn't good enough. So whatever buttons he pushed that didn't work, you can't be playing the same hard-ass card. So if benching and healthy scratching your captain this year failed miserably, and if next year I see you do it again, that's called stupidity. Because we need to change the things that went wrong, and this team failed for 8 straight games, and they were against bad teams. I think they put too much of a focus on the gauntlet. So everybody sort of took a deep breath and a sigh of relief the second, and I mean the second, after you finish through, what was it, Carolina, Toronto a couple times, Boston a couple times. Was Carolina in there? I forget. Florida maybe? I don't remember. There were some very effective squads, and they held their own. The New York Rangers, they survived by getting a point here and there, finding a way to get to overtime. So they did just enough. And then the second it's Columbus on the road, you suck that bad? How? And look, I'm just as mad as everybody else about the fact that the referees are blowing their whistle when the puck's up in the air and it hits the ice and it crosses the goal line. Yo! How are you not watching the puck? Your job is to watch the puck. If the puck goes up, your damn eyeballs go up. If the puck is in the air, you focus on the damn puck being in the air. That costed the Flyers, and who knows? Who knows? Because the real reason why you lost this game is Torts pulled his goalie. That's why you lost the game. They were in this. It's tied. But you had to. Now, in regards of the timing, Torts not knowing that Detroit tied it up, so the pulled goalie doesn't mean much, which screws over Pittsburgh. It screws over Detroit. Think about that emotional ride the Red Wings went on. They scored with 3 seconds left, and they think they got themselves a bang spot into the potential postseason, and here's the Flyers pulling their goalie when it's irrelevant because the second Detroit goes to overtime, you're officially mathematically eliminated. So it was a wild sequence for sure when you look at how it impacted the rest of the league. But in reality, I'm so heartbroken. I'm dead inside. And it's not as if I didn't expect this. I was pretty much dialed in on saying this is sort of house money these next 48 hours or so. Just enjoy it. They already failed. That 8 game is going to come back to bite you. Look, Sidney Crosby even though he got screwed over here by the Bull goalie, look at what he was doing to bring the Penguins that have nothing like they used to, and he's scratching his way towards the postseason. Alex Ovechkin tonight, maybe not the most iconic goal ever, but guess what? When you're a greasy player and you get in front of the blue paint, you create those opportunities by just being involved. And if the puck hits something and it goes off your stick and you're trying to get away from the puck, it hits your shaft and finds the net, then so be it. You create that by getting to the greasy areas. That's creating your own puck luck. And Alex Ovechkin, with the season coming down the stretch, they were money. He was money in this game. Crosby down the stretch was money. The difference is the Flyers folded and couldn't beat Montreal. Look at how the Red Wings handled Montreal lately. Down 4-1, season on the line, we're winning the game. Down with 3 seconds left, season on the line, I'm winning that game. You know what the Flyers did? Lost to Chicago at home. No. Not just lost. One of the grossest losses ever. The team has one player. One! You can't. You just can't. Columbus on the road? Please. That was even worse. Somehow, that's even worse. So that's the difference. I'm not telling you the Penguins are great and this, that. They're clearly on the back nine of their insane stretch with Sidney Crosby. But you just see the difference on what these veterans who have been around the block, who have won multiple Stanley Cups as a duo. Ovi has one. Crosby has all the others, of course. But there's a different sense of urgency at this time of the year, and they were unprepared for it because they put so much stock into the previous games, and you can't do that. You can't weigh others more than others when there's 10 games to go. When there's 4 teams looking for an edge for one spot. Because guess what? That's not going to change in future years. Unless you're a third in the Metropolitan type of team. Okay, if you were like you were all year long and that's really you, then yeah, there's something different to it. But I'd imagine even next season, they're not going to have the record the Rangers do. They're going to be closer to who they were this year than the New York Rangers, okay? That's just reality of it. By the way, Cutter Gauthier makes his debut Thursday night for the Ducks. I'm going to watch every second of that game. Every second of every shift, I'm going to dissect everything. Puck battles, laziness, if he's working hard, stick on puck, unwilling to block a shot. You know what he's going to do, right? He's probably going to score 2 goals and have 2 assists and flip me off as he's flying by the camera. His middle finger says, fuck you, bros. Wouldn't be surprised. Their power play was bad. Sean Couturier missed a pass that would have totally fled them onto a 2-on-1. But in the neutral zone, the puck stops on a dime because he can't control it, mishandles it, and now you're watching the team head out in transition the other way. No, but I also watched Owen Tippett with an outstanding back check to keep things rolling. My anxiety was through the roof. All right, that's the one thing that's beautiful about hockey. You just never know when that's happening. When I watch hoops, there's so many buckets scored. I always laugh when I go from college with March Madness to the NBA. When you make that switch and you watch 72 hours, 100-plus hours of straight college hoops, and then you go back to a random Tuesday night of Sixers Hornets, you're like, oh yeah, that's the skill level talent difference, right? You know what I mean? Oh yeah, that's the difference between the two. But in hockey, you don't score the same amount. In the NBA, it's odd when you don't score on a possession. Hockey, you just never know when it's going to come. And here you go. You're in a very thick battle with your playoff life's on the line. You're at home, and you were buzzing, putting pucks on net, everyone stopping at the crease, maybe a couple shoves. Travis Konechny throws the good old two-handed cross-check 3 times right into your forearms, right above your gloves in that wrist area. If you don't wear protection there, that could be just a terrible feeling. Just a terrible feeling. You constantly get it right across your wrists. What an annoying son of a bitch, and I love it. Love every second of it. And I'm sad that we're not going to see this anymore because they had their flaws. They sure did. But they showed us a lot this year. And Tyson Forster, Morgan Frost, Owen Tippett, Cam York. Man, Cam York has been so enjoyable. He has been so good. And I'm hoping that Drysdale, what we're seeing now, is just a product of him being injured. And he went through a lot this season. He's really banged up, but he just wants to be out there for the fellas, eat some minutes. But he's playing at a 70% clip right now because of his wing that went down earlier in the season, which is a common injury for him, something he dealt with in Anaheim. So it's been sort of on his IL notebooks and paperwork for a long-ass time. He's an NHLer. He's an everyday NHLer. Is he really good, or is he a guy? He's young. Defensemen take longer to grow, yada, yada, yada. But I thought maybe he would have been farther along in that growing process. Not writing him off. I see a lot of good things. He's a top 4 defenseman. It's how good of a top 4 defenseman is he going to project out to be? There are times where I am pleasantly surprised. There are times where I'm actually insanely scared and nervous. Because in what world do you even think to do that? How about TK being robbed in front of the doorstep? Looked like they were getting away with some far pad shots, which created something juicy just sitting there in the slot. And a few times, TK was right there. It was a little close to the pad. I wish the rebound was fatter. I wish it laid maybe a little farther away from the crease, so then you had a chance to elevate it over the pad. But he got robbed. I thought Paling was flying through the neutral zone, just putting the puck in between him and the defender's stick and skate and gliding right through pretty easily, which was entertaining. Like, this team gave us that fun couple of spurts in this game, and you had to grind it out. It was one where it was a chess match. It was slow. It was methodical. Not a lot of shots. Shot total pops up on the graphics. It's 10 minutes into the period, and it's shots 1-1 for each period. So, but that's how the playoffs are. It's not going to be this free-flowing LA Fitness style of hockey. No, it's going to be tight. It's going to be measured. There's going to be calculated risks in the neutral zone. You're not going to jump up every single time in the play to be that third layer. If you see maybe the Flyers are doing something, you stay back, you keep 2 defensemen high. We're not giving up any odd man rushes. It's a tighter game. And I think the hits impact is more there, right? Like a Hathaway brings tremendous value when he's getting in the corners and he's rubbing his shoulder over somebody's chin as they're skating along the glass. That stuff matters this time of the year. I'm not going to put the full blame on the refs. I'm going to acknowledge that they sucked and they have a job to stare at the puck when it's in midair. But, I mean, the Flyers lost this thing during the 8-game losing streak. It costed them. It threw away a lot in the trash. Now, when we regroup and we reassess this team in a week, in 2 weeks, when we remove ourselves from the right now, well, of course, we'll string together more positives and we'll look for the good stuff because there's so many good things to happen here. But what I saw in this team against Washington and what we witnessed tonight, that was the team that the Flyers have been for a majority of the season. And that team, while just competing with a wild card squad, it's not as if the Washington Capitals are the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Boston Bruins, the Carolina Hurricanes. No, it's an old team with an old Ovi who's going to pass Wayne Gretzky in goals. By the way, Austin Matthews is popping 70. This is the type of goal scorer we're seeing in the league right now. It's outrageous, yet the Flyers can't find anybody like that, right? I mean, they're getting 30 goal scorers, which is nice, but where do we get the 70s? I'm just spitballing here. It would be lovely to have the 70s dressing up in the orange and black. Just spitballing there, Danny, if maybe you can find somebody in the draft. It's insane. So we'll get to the time where it's definitely more focusing on the future and how much fun Tyson Forster. I love that kid. I am so in love with the way that kid plays the game. Electric. Love the size. I just love his ability to play two-way. He's really strong all over the ice without the puck. That stuff's rare to find at his age. So he has really taken off. Same with York. Sanheim step in the right direction. I don't know if we're going to get out all the kinks, okay, because I'd be lying lying to you if I thought it was easy to remove all the bad from someone like Travis Sanheim, who 2 years ago fell flat on his face and rebounded pretty well. But sometimes, like a Drysdale, I think maybe he can revive his career. But to what extent is the ceiling with Sanheim? Him and York had some really impressive moments. They really did. I don't want to downplay that. But, you know, if I'm trying to build a team that can go win a championship and a Stanley Cup, if you're getting real, true, legit number ones, if you know what I'm talking about, come on, a real solidified number one, and then that pushes a Sanheim down a pair, like that's what you need if we're trying to win a championship, and that's the vision that I have. So we're going to take some anytime hotline calls here, and I just want to thank everybody who took the time to sort of share their opinions on what they thought about tonight. But I also threw out a tweet when the game ended, and there were some pretty interesting and solid comments. So in regards to just how are you feeling tonight? This is from Kurt. I'm disappointed, but I'm not discouraged. Good building stone for the future. The young kids tasted how close they were and now playing the what-if game in their heads. They will stay hungry, and hopefully the front office can get a good vet and not just a washed-up locker room vet for next season. No, I mean, in regards to utilizing this as momentum and letting it feed the beast, so when you're in the gym during the offseason and you're doing your slide boards or you're doing your hang cleans and you're working on your footwork and all that stuff, the recovery phase of your programs, I've been through it all, baby. I thought about all the seasons prior when I'm doing my workouts throughout that time in my career. You know, that's what I would do. I would process what I can do to be better, replay bad plays that I had and make sure I'm not going to do it again. How can I get better here, this and that? That's just what it is. At least that's how my brain was wired. And I'd imagine that Owen Tippett, Joel Farabee, that's what you got to do. You got to let the pain fuel you. So it sucks that we're here, and I wish we were in a position where we didn't need this learning moment, but maybe a lot of these guys did. And it's not just the young kids. Travis Konechny, Sean Couturier. I hope Scott Lawton's not here anymore. Not disrespecting him, the person. I think he's one of the best people we have in this community right now from a pro athlete level. He is that good of a person, and I just think when I'm trying to maximize value for the franchise with the current state, you have to remove that for a decent pick. And I know you can get a decent pick for Scott Lawton. They just love him so much. You trade Walker. You trade a Lawton. That's what you do. So I hope they don't screw that up. B. Dangle says, tonight, Flyers needed to not wet the bed in not even half of those games during the losing streak, and their destiny wouldn't have even depended on tonight. Long term, though, Flyers need to bolster the roster to improve scoring and hope the kids take steps forward so the rebuild doesn't regress. Now, I don't think it's going to regress, but everything you said is valid. And when you talked about bolstering the roster to improve scoring, the only goal tonight was Eric Johnson. That is insanity. That man is in front of the net. He's just, I don't know, taking away the goalie's eyes. He's just taking a lane there, hoping that something good happens. And similar to what I was saying with Alex Ovechkin, when you put yourself in front of the net, good things are going to happen. So I think that's what you saw out of Eric Johnson. But yes, you need more scoring. If your power play's going to suck, and it can't suck this much, it can't suck to 12%, okay? It's got to be way higher, way higher. But if you can't score on the power play, and you're also waiting for Eric Johnson to score a goal with your season on the line, it's probably not great. The power play you get, I'm watching a shorthanded chance for Washington. Just nutty, man. Absolutely nutty. All right, let's go to the Anytime Hotline. Let's hear from the great people. How you feeling tonight, Flyers fans? It's a tough one.
This season tonight ended exactly how I expected it to end. Bottom in the Metro. Now, it sucks how it ended, but you don't deserve to make the playoffs. When you completely suck against the teams that suck, when you completely suck against Chicago, when you completely suck against the Canadians, when you completely suck against the Blue Jackets, all teams you should beat and beat handily, you don't deserve to make the playoffs. And tonight, it was nothing more than wishful thinking the Flyers could actually do it. This team has sucked for the past 3 seasons, but this season there was a lot to build off of, and I am looking forward to next season because I think next season is the season they can finally make the playoffs.
They better. Oh, they better. But look, I'm not trying to make excuses or anything, and I probably have poo-pooed these excuses in previous episodes and said I don't care. But honestly, when you go through the Carter Hart stuff, you go through the Cutter Gauthier stuff, you're working with people over in Russia to save a guy's life where the Russian military told him he had to quit hockey and fight in the army, and that's what he had to do over a year ago, and that's one of your pieces you're using down the stretch. Their goaltending sucked down the stretch, and that's what's supposed to happen when you're on not your third guy. Cal Peterson was your third guy. You're going through it. You're going even farther in the depth chart. Your fourth, your fifth option. That's going to factor in to the results in those 8 games. It just is. It's not all that. It's not only that, but that is definitely a chunk of the pie. They ran out of gas from the way that Torch drains you. Because think about it, there are teams that don't do a John Tortorella training camp, and then they utilize maybe the first 15 games of the season to get in shape, so they're not pushing full throttle until about game 17, 18 with no harsh camp. And you know what you're doing with John Tortorella's team? Your body during game 15 is feeling like game 42, game 38. So what's it going to feel like by the end of the year? You're going to run out of gas. So that also matters. And then the players sucked. You know, it was a combination of a lot of different things. But I'm with you that the future does look bright. The reason why I can't compare this team to the other previous teams, though, is there is still a difference with the culture, the direction, mock it all you want, but the new era. It is new. It is new. It is different. You could look at the state of the franchise with the prospects, with the draft picks, with the development. It's not the same as other teams when you were stuck in 500 with the average veterans around the league at that time, right? Like everyone was mid-30. Like we're talking Drysdale, who's young 20. Cam York, who's just getting started. Sanheim, you know, you're in those middle 20s there. You're starting to get to the 28, 29, 30, 31. That's the savvy vet age that I'm sort of discussing here. But if you're 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, you know, it's not as late into it as some of those other teams that were flirting around 500 more times than not. And this team's record would have been way over 500 if they just didn't collapse during those 8 games the way they did it. And you can't take that away from the dialogue, though. I mean, it happened. It happened, and it sucked the entire season out of your hands. It's a shame. It's a damn shame. And it should hurt. I want this to really destroy them inside because they need it. They need to feel the hunger. Let's go to Amadeo.
Just pain. That's all it is. As I'm walking home from the Wells Fargo Center, it's just the feeling evaporated from the building. It just did. It sucks that was the way that you went down. In typical Flyers fashion, that is just crazy with the empty net situation. I understand why you had to do it. I don't cope saying that it was Torch's way of saying F you to Detroit and Pittsburgh, allowing Washington with that empty net goal. That's how I'll laugh and cope with that situation. But I can only be mad at the Flyers. They were the reason they were in this situation to begin with. All you had to do was win a couple of games during that 8-game losing streak against bad teams.
Maybe just
and
one.
you would have been in the playoffs.
Maybe just one.
What it is at this point. Now, outlook for the future. I'm still very positive and optimistic about the future. I don't understand why people wouldn't be. You look back at this season, yeah, you collapsed. You collapsed hard. But it's still a very good season overall.
It sure is. Of course it is. No doubt about it. I think that you can almost have it split where the long-term approach is this was definitely the right direction. It came down to game 82 with the team that was projected to be maybe a top 6, top 7 style of pick, and you dealt with your 5th, 4th goalie, Urson's your backup, but to play that much, it makes what he was supposed to be and multiplies it by 3, and he's just not ready for that at this time of his career. So it's not the same as it really being your number two. You had to ride really, really deep into your farm system here, and you were still there right at the end of it with some pretty intense games at the back end where you responded. There was an internal fight where it could have been easy to wrap it up. Guys, I'm sorry, but we collapsed. I don't know what else to tell you. I was talking to a reporter who was in the locker room during the time of the 8-game losing streak, and they were doing interviews fully dressed, the entire team, and there wasn't any sort of meeting or whatnot. It was bizarre. It was almost like the life was sucked out of the room because that was their moment. That was their oh no moment. That was their welcome to realization. You guys fucked up moment. And then they really did turn it around there. It's easy to say, not our year, folks. They didn't. Now, I was kind of scrolling through to see Tortorella and his press conference. He was taking a little bit of time to get to the podium, and I wanted to start the show. But the one that I see the most flying around is I'm proud of the team. They fought until the end. They didn't quit on torts. And I was telling you they did not quit on torts. They did not quit on torts. They were playing bad hockey. But you could play bad hockey, and that automatically doesn't equal you quit on the coach. I did not see a team that quit on the coach. Wasn't even close, to be honest with you. Let's go back to the phones.
As much as a tough ending this season was, what an incredible ride with such young players and young talent is only going to grow from here. We all would have loved to make the playoffs. It's what we all want. The future is so bright for this team and this organization with the people in charge and the young guys we got. I truly believe next year we will make the playoffs and we will make our voices heard and our team known.
I agree with you. I think next year is going to be a massive year. The Wells Fargo Center, though, was rocking. The energy was insane. That's what I wanted. I just wish we could have got a series out of it. Whether they would have won the series, lost the series, you can't project that they automatically lose the first round 4-0 because that was some of the people who were talking during the 8-game losing streak. Who cares? If they made the playoffs anyway, they were trying to justify it and go, well, this was supposed to happen because, well, they overachieved all season. No! That was not supposed to happen. Losing to Chicago, losing to the Habs, losing to those teams was not supposed to happen. It was not. What was supposed to happen was win maybe 2 of those games, 3 of those games. That's what was supposed to happen because this team is good. And they're a good team that's going to miss out on a chance to maybe make one round and win one round in advance. Make the second round of the playoffs. You don't know. The year nobody thought that Columbus was going to beat the Toronto Maple Leafs. What happens? So you missed the chance to go to the dance. That gets me upset. It hurts my core. Sucks.
Hey, bros, calling in here as a Penguins fan. Going to congratulate you guys on the great season. Obviously, the Flyers played really well this year. Obviously, a tough night for both of us. I'm sitting here in disgust as probably you are. I enjoy your Philly content, even as a Pittsburgh fan, but tough night for both of us. All we can blame is both of our teams. I don't want to make this about Pittsburgh. I want to make it about the Flyers as well, but, we all had our chances, and, we cannot rely on others. And it sucks to go out this way, but, hey, it is what it is. That was one of the craziest endings to a season I've ever seen in my life. So, end of the day, I'm going to say go Pittsburgh, but got to give it to the Flyers. They had a pretty solid year this year.
Very uncomfortable phone call. Very uncomfortable phone call. I felt that was genuine. So I can't say, yo, jerk off, right? I can't do one of those. Felt like that was a nice, warm-hearted man. So I don't know what to do. But thank you for the call. Penguins. Boo! Boo! Hate them. I hate this feeling in my stomach. Eliminated. I had to write my banner text, right, for the podcast. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, though, of course, there's no visual, but we are on every podcasting platform. Type in Sports Talk with Broats, search it in the search engine, maybe leave a 5-star rating and a review. It would mean the world to me. Thank you all so much. You know I love you. When I type in Flyers eliminated, vomit instantly. Vomit everywhere. Vomit. It's a terrible thing. All right, everybody. Love you guys to death. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. This sucks.